Hey guys, welcome back to Olde Carr Guy. Today we're just doing some regular maintenance. Well, some self-induced maintenance that we need to fix on Dale Jr. here, because when we first bought this thing, you guys know that the cruise control did not work, but we did get that fixed. We also installed a forever sharp steering wheel, which is, installer error, is off center. And the horn spring clip button, I'll show you that in a minute, that goes inside on Dale Jr. The original tab was broken and I didn't have a new one or a replacement. We now do. So we've got to get that fixed so that we can get the horn working again. So first thing we got to do is tear into Dale Jr.'s steering column, get that forever sharp steering wheel off. And there's three things, like I said, that we've got to fix. So let's dig in. So the first thing you're going to notice is the steering wheel is a little bit cockeyed. This should be kind of more straight up and down, and when the wheels are straight, it is off seemingly like one notch or two. So we are going to fix that. The other thing that we've got to fix is, you see right here, we've got this brand new turn signal stock and cruise control switch. We replaced this to get the cruise control working. But temporarily have just run the cruise control wire on the outside instead of down through the steering column and out the end, so that you don't just have this wire hanging all willy-nilly. So if we're going to tear this apart to straighten the wheel, then we can tear in a little bit deeper so that we can get that cable for the cruise control switch all the way down through the column. And the third thing we got to fix is, when we had this apart to put the steering column in, we noticed that the little tab that locks in this little horn button was broken. So how we had it was just kind of set into place. I kind of grooved a little piece in just to hold it. Didn't seem to work. And as it sits right now, the horn doesn't work because this has popped out. At the time, I didn't have another one of these. This one's in rough shape, but at least it's fixed or it's not broken here. So we're going to tear everything apart. Get this fixed, get the wire run, and then when we go to put everything back together, we're going to see what we got to do to make sure that this steering column, or steering wheel, is straight. So let's get some tools and start taking this horn button off and get this all tore apart. So we struggled a little bit with getting this adapter off the steering wheel, so I had to improvise, not having a proper puller. With this little mini pry bar, we just drilled a second hole here with a couple of 3/8 bolts, and with the nut back on the shaft, we just tightened that down until the whole thing just kind of came off. So sometimes when you don't have the tool you need, you use the tools you have. I learned that a long time ago from my buddy Dave from Revstoration. If you guys don't know who that is, make sure you go check out, I think it's over here maybe, his YouTube channel. Him and his dad do a lot of car revivals, mostly Fords, if you're into that sort of thing. Anyway, so now that we've got this off, we can continue to tear deeper into the steering column. All right, so last time I didn't have this tool. I've since bought it, and I will leave a link in the description box down below for you guys if you're interested in buying one of these steering column pullers, tools, whatever you want to call it. Basically what it does is it gives you this big long U-clamp with a through bolt nut washer, so that it slides right on top of the shaft here, and it allows you to get in there, so you can focus, and pull off this little retainer clip that moves this locking ring out of the way. Let's see if we can get it out of there. Yeah, that took a little bit of finagling with 2 screwdrivers and 2 hands. I couldn't hold the camera at the same time, but once we get that pried out of there, it's just a matter of sliding it up on the shaft itself, like so. And then we can take apart this apparatus, and everything from here on out comes out. As we get in here and we get that locking plate out of the way, this is the piece that I wanted to show you. It's the same as this one here. Focus on that, with that little tab where the spring is. And if you look at this one here, that little tab is actually broken and missing. I tried to carve a little spot in there for it to lock, but obviously it's not working. So we're going to replace this piece while we're in here. But in order to run that cable for the cruise control switch, we've got to get further in here, which means we've got to remove this little clip right here, which is connected to the switch, and then get all of this up out of the way. All right, we've gotten this far, and we've just kind of pulled these wires up through the column a little bit and kind of got this turn signal switch out of the way. Now what we've got to be able to do is we're going to unscrew the tilt lever here, and the cruise control switch itself just pops in, it's pressure fit. So we'll just take this and give it a little tug. That's out of the way. And the whole goal is to get this collar off here on the top. In order to do that, we've got to take those two levers off. We've got to get the ignition switch out, or the key switch, which if we come right down in here, there's a T20 screw that kind of locks it into place there. And then we've got to get these T30s out that's holding this whole thing in place. Once that's out, we should be able to slide this forward a little bit. That's going to gain us access to a little sleeve that's down in here. Not sure if we can see it right there, this little clear sleeve, because that's where the cruise control wire is going to go down through. Don't know how easy that's going to be. We'll get there when we get there. Okay, so we're here. And what I've done, let's see if I can do this, is we've taken this bottom section out here from the steering column. We haven't torn anything off the steering column, not yet anyway. This little collar here just pulls down and out of the way. Doesn't give you a whole lot of room, but if you look right in there, that little white spot, you'll see that's the sleeve. We come up here, there's the sleeve again, and we've only got about that 3 or 4 inches to go to get into this hole here. And again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show you without dropping everything. Just below that rod, you'll see it's a little bit greasy, but that is the sleeve there. So we've got to be able to kind of fish that down through. And from what I can tell, with this having that little rubber piece on it, may not slide through. We may end up having to take that sleeve off there temporarily to slide that through, put it back on the other side or tape it up or something. Anyways, I am going to struggle with this for a few minutes. I'll do a time lapse. I'm not sure how good that's going to do you guys because there's not a whole lot to see. But anyway, let's see if we can get her going. Okay, so we learned very early on that that cruise control end was not fitting into that sleeve. Again, I'm not sure if that's the sleeve that's supposed to be in, but I think so. But we did manage to fish it down through here so we could get it out this little crack. And once we got it going, we were able to get it through here. And at one point we had it coming out here, which I think is where we wanted to, but it was getting bound up on the high beam switch. There's a little rod that we were fighting with, comes down and pokes into this. So I pulled it back and I came out in front of this bracket that mounts it to the dash. So I think we're going to be able to make that work. Either way, our cable is run through the column and we can start putting everything back together. I did drop something. I don't know where it went. We'll have to struggle finding that. Yeah, so at least we can get back to the point where we're ready to replace the horn button, because that was one of the things as well, and then try and straighten up that steering wheel. So the piece that fell out that I can never remember where it goes is this little pin right here. It's like a spring or a lock or something. And I got my trusty old Haynes manual that's been around forever. And sometimes I refer to it for electrical. But in this particular case, we've got an exploded view of the tilt column. And the only thing that I can think is that it's this number 34 that goes along that little gear rack somehow. 34 tells us that it's the ignition switch rack spring, which makes sense. It is a spring. I just got to figure out how the heck it goes in there because it was just laying on the floor. And I didn't see where it came out. I've had some of these columns apart. I've had plenty of these columns apart in the past. In fact, I've got this one all apart right now, fixing those 4 tilt retaining bolts down in the column. And this is the one that I picked up real cheap that I'm going to be putting in Dale the truck. I've had this one apart. We've had this donor one apart for some spare parts that this one was missing. And that little spring clip is there as well. I'm too far deep on this one to know where it goes because it's got to be assembled further than what mine is already. You guys are probably hollering at me down in the comment section telling me exactly where it goes, but unfortunately I won't be able to read those comments till I post this video, and by then I'll have it back together anyway. But let me know in the comment section down below if you know exactly where that goes. When I figure it out, I'll be sure to tell you. In the meantime, I've got to go do some digging. So as soon as I figure it out, I'll be right back. Okay, so with some help from the Viking mechanic, and I will leave a link up here to his channel, he does a full teardown and rebuild on one of these columns. This little clip that we were missing, that fell out on the floor, apparently what it does is it slides underneath this little cam gear right down in there and holds it up in place with some tension on it. So we're gonna see if we can struggle to get that in place without losing it again, and then all this can go back together the same way we tore it apart. So wish me luck. Okay, so we're back to the point where this is just about ready to be reinstalled. And this little horn device here, the problem we ran into before with putting this adapter on, and then this adapter, is that there's only so many bolts or screw holes for this to clock and to be aligned. This will clock in there just about any way you want it because those teeth are all the same. They're all uniform. There's no, it's not keyed. The problem is that in order for me to get this clockwise a little bit more, I'm limited to how far I can bring this. As you can see, it only goes about 1/8 of an inch or so back and forth because this lock ring on this shaft is keyed. It only goes on one way. So the only way you're going to get more clock out of this to be able to clock this, to be able to rotate this, is we're going to have to take this off here, and we're going to take the pencil grinder and we're going to grind that in. Maybe we'll put like an extra 1/4 of an inch in there so that we can actually move this the way that we need to. Actually, we're going to have to go the other way, I think. No, this is going to lock. We need to slide this to the right. So yeah, we'll pencil that out a little bit. I'm going to go do that. We'll be right back, see if we can get it lined up. All right, so as you can see, we got that hole kind of penciled out a little bit bigger, probably giving us about an extra 3/8 of an inch of clocked adjustment there. So let's get this thing put back together and see how much straighter we can get that wheel. We do know that the steering wheel was cocked off a little bit to the left, just backing this thing straight into the garage. So we expect that when we put this back together, it should be clocked a little bit more to center. All right, one step closer. We've got that snap ring, or whatever you want to call it, down in there. The lock ring is in place. And as you can tell right here, the lock pin is up engaged so that the steering wheel can't really turn any further. And if everything went back together properly, we should be able to turn the key and that releases that lock. So now we're going to go back to putting all the adapters back in place, and hopefully, I should test this right now. We will check and see if the horn is going to work. That's going to stay in place, so I should just be able to touch that, the steering column, and the horn works. So let's get all of our adapters back in place. We know that we've got this thing clocked over there as far as we can. Hopefully the steering wheel is a little bit more center. Now, I'm pretty sure I did this last time too. Yep. I forgot the trim piece that goes in between those two. Dang it. Take it all apart again. Okay. I think we might have it. The steering wheel, the wheels on the vehicle have not moved. And just by doing that little bit of adjustment in that locking ring, seems to have maybe straightened out the steering wheel the same way it was when it backed in here. It backed in straight and the wheel was off this way. Now it's this way. So the true test is going to be take it for a ride down the road and see exactly if it is lined up or closer to being lined up, and we'll go from there. So let's get my tools cleaned up. There's a lot of them, and we'll take it for a quick rip. Well, I think we managed to get it. There's not too many straight pieces of road between here and the house, but when we do get straight, it seems to be just the way you want it to be, just like that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So there's a few more things that we can cross off the list here on Dale Jr. Things that we've been trying to get done for a long time, working out a lot of little bugs. Some of the things that we still have left to do are the rattles. There's a lot of rattles inside the cabin area of Dale Jr., which is just plastics, and we got to figure out what's going on with that. I know the spare tire is loose. There's a couple of pieces inside where the spare tire is, like the tire iron and different stuff like that, just rolling around in there. And that tailgate is the bulk of the noise. Every time you hit a bump, it's like bang, 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 bang. And it's because it's only held on there with one hinge. So once we get that hinge fixed up this winter, that should fix that, and then we can kind of go through all the other little details. We're getting this thing closer to being back to 100% factory when it rolled off the assembly line. And what that means to me is everything works the way it should. Steering wheel straight. The cruise control lever is in, the wire is run and hidden. And that horn button works just the way it should, and everything, like I said, is working. The AC is still working, by the way. So yeah, that's gonna end this video, guys. If you haven't yet, please hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed, because we got a lot of things that we're gonna be doing with this truck. Customizing, yes, I told you we're trying to get it back to factory, but that's all the options, all the little tiny things. Eventually, yes, we're gonna have to be kind of going and dialing through a few more of these things with the LS, with the Turbo LS. But at the end of the day, we're always just trying to make things work. So that's where we are right now. Don't forget, Olde Carr Guy merchandise. A new t-shirt design has dropped. It's on the first link in the description box down below. Make sure you check it out to help support the channel so that we can do things like a Turbo LS on a 1990 Suburban. It's going to happen. So anyways, thanks guys for tuning in. Stay focused on the windshield, not the rearview mirror. I love you guys. God bless. Let's do it again in the next video.